That was a close call.
Good afternoon, Davie, or good morning, or good afternoon for you as well. I'm not sure.
It is afternoon for me because it's now 25 past 12, which is 25 past 6 UK time. So good evening for you, good afternoon for me.
So you had to get away. It's a lockdown in Jamaica, I believe, and you had trouble getting home because of lockdown.
Yes, because basically, so they've implemented a new, we've already had a curfew where the regular curfew is 5 a.m. till 8 p.m. daily. But because there's been a spike in the cases of COVID, the government for the last 2 weekends have implemented just for the weekends and the holiday period. So for the weekends, the curfew is at midday. So everything opens at, well, you can be out from 5 a.m., but businesses obviously opens at 9 o'clock in the morning. So you literally have 3 hours to do everything and get home. For this Easter period, they locked everything down from Thursday, midday, until today. Then it's open from 5 a.m. this morning till midday, which was 25 minutes ago. And then it's closed again now until Tuesday. So literally people have had 3 hours to do everything that they need to do for the next 48 hours.
So that is the life Davie is living right now in Jamaica. Can't blame Davie too much for being late today, but I am going to dock him a week's pay regardless.
Yes.
Yeah. So whilst I was waiting for you, I was having a heated WhatsApp debate with a friend of mine. And he was saying that the Marvel movies aren't proper movies because of the comments Martin Scorsese made a few years back, where he said the Marvel movies aren't proper art. Actually, let me read out the quote he said, David, and you'll take he's okay. Yeah, was it your stomach?
Huh?
I can hear something. Like, is there something flying overhead?
Oh, that's just I think it's the background. That's just from the road. Okay. I think it's just how great my microphone is. Literally, it's picking up everything.
Okay. So Martin Scorsese said a few years ago, I said Marvel movies aren't cinema. Let me explain. Cinema is an art form that brings you the unexpected. In superhero movies, nothing is at risk, the director says.
Well, that's his opinion, isn't it? And his opinion is just that, his opinion, because at the end of the day, it's like with anything. Usually when someone has something to say, especially negative, it's usually when something is a threat. If something is a threat or something is successful, then usually that's when you get that kind of comment, because I guarantee he didn't make this comment when Blade came out in 99 or when Spawn came out back in 96, 95, 96. So he didn't have anything like that to say then, because those movies didn't generate
the big
fan base. Yes, the big fan base and the big box office money value as they bring right now. So obviously, because they weren't a threat, when someone is not a threat or something is not a threat, you don't really say anything about it, because if you do, it may seem, especially if you're bigger during that time, because let's face it, gangster movies, that kind of movies have been big since the 60s, even to date. If you do see a really good gangster movie, people are going to flock to it. So of course, it still has its appeal to the audience. But at the end of the day, superhero movies haven't been as great as they should have been. I mean, we all remember the debacle of the Spider-Man movies back in the old days, when it was, the infamous ropes that was used as webbing, which was just atrocious. But let's face it, going from then to now, how they have evolved now, it's been amazing. And obviously, those are the #1 movies right now. You make a good superhero movie, and let's face it, Marvel is the trendsetter right now in terms of doing it right. And their movies, if their movies didn't have substance to it, then it wouldn't be as successful as it is. Because let's face it, it's not just kids that's watching it. You've got grown people watching it as well.
100%.
Everyone, even people who wasn't into comics have now gone into comics. You know, let's face it, if this was the old days where online streaming and things like that wasn't the in thing right now, comics would have been rolling in when in terms of revenue, because people have taken to it, because no matter what the situation or what the movies, you can actually you can take something from it, because just like a gangster movie, you can use it as a metaphor for things that's happening in the real world for yourself. It's the same with a superhero movie. There's no difference to it. It's still fictional in some sense. So he's a bit of a hypocrite for saying that, because his movies are fictitious as well.
Yeah, and he says here as well, cinema is an art form that brings you the unexpected. I would say the MCU has given us lots of unexpected, high-hitting emotional moments, such as half the superheroes just disappearing into dust at the end of Infinity War, which is one of the most impactful scenes you're ever going to see in cinema.
Well, yeah, I mean, but again, the thing is, it's kind of like, you know, a scammer calling a bank robber, saying to him, you're not really a real criminal, when you're both doing the same thing. You know, it's a bit of, you know, it just reeks of hypocrisy. So again, you're not going to take that person serious because you're doing the exact same thing. It's not like he's a real life gangster where he can come and say, well, you know, I'm speaking, or he's a real life superhero where he can speak for and say, well, speaking from personal experience, when I saved the universe, you know, I did it this way. So, you know, they're not really being true to how it is for someone like me. He's got no experience. Again, he's just speaking from a personal opinion. And that usually stems from obviously a little bit of jealousy and envy, because let's face it, those movies are the number one when it comes to raking in box office money. Those movies have made it big. I mean, look at even Black Panther. Black Panther broke $1 billion in over a month.
Yeah, and it would if it had been an awful movie, it wouldn't have done. And Black Panther touched upon lots of social issues which few superhero movies had ever done before to that level. And again, at the end of Endgame, when Tony Stark dies, I have never been in a cinema before with that many people just sobbing their hearts out.
Yeah, it was amazing. And if it didn't have heart, then people wouldn't relate to it. So, I mean, all he will do right now by him doing that, he, in a way, he will actually just alienate his movies and his fan base, because what people do is just look at him as a bitter person, because you're coming across that way for something that it's not as if Marvel came and attacked gangster movies and said, oh, Scarface wasn't real, you know, he didn't do that, you know, Iron Man would have taken him. No one was doing any kind of comparison or anything like that. So for him to compare the two and saying, what's, you know, that's not art. I mean, who is he to say what is art? Because let's face it, there's some paintings or some works of art that we see that I look at and I think, oh my God, that's not art. You know, a 2-year-old could do that. Yet still, to someone else, it's a masterpiece. So who is he to say what is art and what isn't art? Except if he's just giving his personal opinion. Which opinion should only be given if someone asks you. If you're throwing it out there, then that's not really an opinion. That's just you basically being bitter and trying to make a point when no one didn't ask you anything. So I think Marvel and everyone else has done the best thing. They've just let it go over their heads because you know, it's coming from a place of bitterness. Because what's happening since he's made that comment? What's happened? The Marvel movies and the Marvel franchise is still getting bigger and bigger. So.
And they've now made WandaVision, which is one of the most unique TV shows which has ever been created.
Well, he's going to say her pain isn't art. You know, it's not art enough for him or whatever, you know. If you're not sitting with a cat on your lap and stroking it and saying, you know, I'm going to make you an offer that you can't refuse, you know, blah, 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 then, you know, that's art.
To be fair, that was The Godfather and that was Francis Ford Coppola.
Well, still, it's just a fact of gangster movie. He would consider something like that art as opposed to this. So again, it's a scammer talking to a bank robber and saying, you know, you're not a real crook. I steal cash. You didn't.
Do you know the thing as well, Davie? You know, like how the MCU just loves bringing in legendary actors, even if it's for a small cameo. They just love to bring in, like, you know, even like having Sly Stallone, like, have a quick cameo. in the second Guardians movie. If they can get him in for a quick cameo, they'll do it because they just appreciate the legends of the cinema world. I mean, wouldn't you love to see Scorsese, for example, direct a Kingpin movie? I mean, that would just be like amazing one day. It's a shame that that will never happen. Probably because it's too expensive as well, and it would have to be an 18 certificate. But
well, it could work, and he probably could do it as well too. I mean, if how he's talking, then they could actually put that as a challenge to him now to say, well, since you don't think it's art, we're going to give you. It's kind of like like one of those like Master Chef, where they would just give you the ingredients and say, okay, there we go. We've given you all the ingredients. Now make us a meal. So we give you the ingredient of the Kingpin, give you a basic storyline of what summary of what it could be about. Then it's up to you to basically, expand on that and then turn it into a masterpiece. If you're as good as how you say you are, then you shouldn't have a problem to actually do it, because it's kind of like the same thing what we were saying about in our last podcast when we were saying, when it comes to certain lines, especially when we're speaking about Wonder and
Paul
Vision.
Vision.
And Vision, when he said the lines in Avengers, it was so touching. And remember, we had that discussion where I said sometimes it doesn't even matter the lines, what the words are. Basically,
it's the delivery,
the delivery of it. So it's the same thing like this. People can give you a Kingpin movie, and if you're as great as how you say you are, you can turn something that's not art into art. So if you're as good as you say you are, then let's see you do that.
Indeed. But that's enough about Scorsese. Let's not from negativity, let's move on to positivity. So Davie, who am I?
The Duke of Homerton.
No, from Falcon and Winter Soldier. Who am I?
You are the Duke of Homerton.
Did you watch episode 3?
Yes, I did watch episode 3.
Okay, did you not see Baron Zemo cutting moves in the nightclub?
Yeah, but that was just wrong.
Well, I thought it was one of the greatest moments of the episode. In all fairness.
It was kind of wrong, but it was fun.
I just love seeing this like murderous individual just in the dance club, just letting his hair down and with his rather awful Baron type moves.
Well, that's what makes it horrendous, because you know what he's about. He's a real loony, and he's just doing that as if it's like just a day in the park. But I absolutely loved episode 3, and I'm so glad that when we had our podcast last week, and I was there going on my Captain America kissing on his niece rant, and I was saying, so many characters, and we might reach a stage where we lose some of those characters because there's so many powerful characters, even with small roles that come in, and they leave a lasting impression. And because there's so many of them, it's going to be hard to get them all in things. And we were talking about Captain America's niece that he was kissing on, and lo and behold, boom, in episode 3, there she was. And I'm so glad that we did our podcast live like we are doing right now, where I actually discussed that last week. Episode 3 hadn't been out. I didn't even know when episode 3 was airing until you actually told me. So it's not as if went and we did some research on it. I had no clue at all. And we were speaking about her, and boom, there she was now in episode 3. That was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's like you almost fought it into existence.
Yes.
which was cool. No, when she actually appeared on the screen, on the screen, I actually leapt up and punched the air. But I've done that twice during this episode. But let's start at the beginning of the episode. So we're introduced to the GRC, the Global Repatriation Council, which shows that a lot has gone on after Tony Stark brought everyone back, and it is taking a lot of effort on a global scale to get people reintegrate into society and make them understand what society is now, which I thought was good. I'm glad that they're slowly telling these stories about how difficult things have been after both snaps of the finger.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think, especially because it's 5 years. So I think, a lot of people have gone through, looking at it from a realistic perspective, if it's 5 years, especially for some people, you've gone through that mourning phase, you've gone through that anger phase, the sadness, the depression, and then it's like, you're literally just starting to go through at the acceptance stage where you accept like they're gone, they're never coming back. And you're slowly starting to rebuild your life. So if you were a husband or a wife or whatever, you probably, because legally at that point you would have been technically cast as a widow now, isn't it? Because
Yeah,
after
yeah,
a certain
widow,
amount
widower.
of years,
Yeah,
a
yeah,
widower, yeah. So
yeah.
it would have been a situation now where you probably have met someone in that time, you've now started a new life. And then just like that, snap of the fingers, and they're literally back. They haven't aged a bit, they're still in the same mindset as if it's, everything is the same, like, whatever they were doing 5 years ago. So if they were on their way to work, they're thinking, oh, I was on my way to work, like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm going to be late, not
Well, actually,
realizing that it's been 5 years that's actually gone and everything has changed. If they had kids, their kids, have grown. If they probably had family members, they may have lost someone in that time. And it's a big thing to actually come back to, with so many different emotions that you're going to be going through or whatever. If you've lost someone, for those who's now gaining someone back in their family, the whole reintegration back into society, into your family. Let's face it, people are probably looking at you strangely, thinking like, well, where have you been? Let's face it, because there are always going to be people who's probably think, oh, is it really them? It could be an alien, because let's face it, anything is now possible in that situation, so you're not sure what to expect, how you're going to be treated. And it's difficult. It's a very, very difficult situation for everyone involved.
100%. And just imagine as well, like you were like you were snapped when you were 25 years old, and you've come back and you're still 25, but your partner's aged 5 years, and you're like, damn, I'm in the prime of my life, but my partner's aged terribly in these in
Yeah,
these
well, they're
five years.
probably no longer your partner now. They're probably with someone else.
Yeah, and you're
Moved into
kind of
your
like, uh,
Yeah, moved into your
maybe
house,
I need
everything.
to move on. I can do,
Yeah,
a
yeah,
shallow person might say I can do better. But yeah, so from there we see about the GRC, and then we see John Walker and his team in Germany, along with Battlestar. They raid an address which they believe is linked to the Flag Smashers, and now we're beginning to see the real John Walker I was talking about last
yeah.
week. We're seeing
Not
the
Mr. Goody Goody as he wants
we're
to
seeing the
portray.
obnoxious little so and so. So
Weird chin guy.
yeah, let's not body shaming. I mean, he can't do anything about that chin, though it doesn't help matters.
Yeah, like he's got a horrible personality.
Yeah, yeah. I think the chin would be forgivable if he was a nice person.
Yeah, if
But
he was a decent human.
yeah, so he goes in there and they're not playing game, and John Walker straight away just becomes impulsive. He shoves the guy up against the wall, punches him in the stomach, and says, "Do you know who I am?" After the guy had spat in his face. You could never imagine Steve Rogers handling the situation like that.
Very true. And that's where, it's, in a sense, sometimes when things are done and dusted, you leave it exactly right there, because now you're going to have someone where, for this, for the next generation, however long he's going to be Captain America, who didn't know the original Captain America, they will only have this image and this persona of Captain America, that he's not this goody goody guy that we see a statue of, like, this guy is a monster. Because let's face it, he is coming across like how, let's say, general public in some places would view military, where they just do as they feel.
Yep.
They don't care what means, as long as they get to their end. They don't care about, the means. As long as they get their end in that they want, they will do whatever they want. And you can't speak out against them, because your small voice is nothing compared to them, because you saw how he was getting this big adulation from the public, and he hadn't even done anything as Captain America.
Yep.
Literally, he was getting this big fandom, like, as if he's just gone out and he actually defeated bloody Thanos, and he hadn't done anything, where in reality he would not last 2 minutes against Thanos.
Yeah, that's the way he's behaving, and the fact he says, "Do you know who I am?" I mean, that just speaks volumes. I mean, there's a scene in Infinity War, and I think it's relevant to this. The scene where Thor, Rocket, and Groot teleport into the battle in Wakanda.
Yeah.
And Groot, as he always does, turns around to Captain America and says, "I am Groot." And Steve Rogers, instead of saying "I'm Captain America" in a polite way, because he's just such a polite, humble man, Steve Rogers says, "And I am Steve Rogers." He doesn't say "I am Captain America." He believes in himself. He doesn't. Steve Rogers doesn't actually need.
He's humble because he knows where he's come from. It's kind of like someone who's really been poor, and then they made it big, and they still have the memories of what it was like and the mindset. They knew what it was like being that person, so they don't look down at a person. But if it was Captain Chin, he would have been like, "Do you know who I am?"
Is that what we're going to call him now, Captain Chin?
Yep, Captain Chin. He's not Captain America.
I don't think we should, because I think he's a bit mean on White Russell.
Yeah, but he needs to get that whooping, man. He can see, which is good, which means that as an actor, he's playing his role very well, because just the little snippets from last week and now this week, he's already irritated me to the point where I'm like, yeah, he needs to get them hands put on him. Yeah. And he needs to get it not by Falcon, but by the Winter Soldier.
Or by ZEMO.
AKA the White Wolf. They need to put hands on him, just give it to him, because he's got that arrogance where he thinks he's actually Captain America 3.0. He's not even 2.0, he's 3.0.
Yeah, and in fact, he says, "Do you know who I am?" again. It just suggests that he doesn't see himself as needing to do any of the hard work. He thinks he's Captain America now, and he's arrived. He doesn't realize actually being Captain, the work starts now in terms of proving to people what the mantle of Captain America means. And John Walker just does not seem to get this at all either. Another point which a friend of mine made yesterday to me, he said that what you're seeing as well is you're seeing John Walker like on the back foot, and he's not getting his own way in a lot of these situations. And because of that, we're seeing the mean, nasty side. Now, it's easy to be a nice, humble person when you're winning and you're on top. But the true judge of a character is when you're on the floor and defeated. Yeah. And what we're seeing is actually he gets really nasty and really obnoxious when he's on the floor and defeated.
And he's not an honorable person as well, because you could tell by what he said when he failed in Germany to get anything done. He basically was like, he's now going to wait for Falcon and Winter Soldier or Bucky to actually do all the hard work. Then he'll sweep in, finish up, and take the credit for everything they've done. He literally has that kind of, like sadistic, egomaniac attitude about him as well, like, an opportunist.
Yeah.
And not an honorable person. He will not come out and say, "Well, no, I didn't do it, it was them." No, he will take the credit like, "Oh, yes, it was really me." He's got no shame.
He's actually like a politician, isn't he? Like
yeah,
in front
literally.
of
Or like a manager. He's like a manager where you do all the work.
Yeah.
You do all the work for them, and then they put their name at the bottom of it now to say, "Yes, I did this." And if you ask them to break it down how they got that, they can't explain a damn thing. Literally, that's him.
Yeah, and like there was a moment in an early episode where they asked him, "Do you feel like? Did you ever meet Steve Rogers?" But he says, "Steve feels like a brother to me," even though he's never met him. And yet you've got Falcon and Bucky, who, without being blood, are basically his brothers, but don't have that mantle of Captain America, but are far more worthy. And he just seems to have no acknowledgement of actually. He probably thought he was saying quite a nice, cute thing, but actually,
no, he just came across as a groupie.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're seeing the real John Walker now. But what I liked as well is I think Battlestar, Lamar Hoskins, he's trying to set him on the
reel
right
him
path.
in. Yeah,
Yeah,
reel him in. But I don't think he's gonna be able to. I think he's a lost cause, and I think them two are gonna probably somewhere down the line. Them two are gonna fall out.
yeah, I
Them two
think
are gonna
so.
fall out because you can see that he's got this ruthless streak in him where you can see that he will as long as he feels that he's doing what America wants him to do. He's Captain America, so he's in his mind, as long as he's stopping the bad guy, then there's no limits as to what he can do. There's no rules that he can't break. He can bend the rules as much as he wants because it's for the greater good. He's got that kind of sadistic psycho attitude and persona. You can actually see that he will actually do that.
Yeah, and you see that later on in the episode as well, where he's talking to Battlestar again, and he says like, as long as we get the job done, no one's going to really care. I'm paraphrasing, but no one's going to really
Yeah,
care how we done it. So again,
exactly.
even though like Falcon and the Winter Soldier are breaking all kinds of rules at the moment, but as they said in the last episode, Sam Wilson said to John Walker, we're free agents, but you're not, so we can do these things. And I think it was kind of like a nod towards him being the US agent. We're free agents, you're the US agent. I think that was a kind of a cute little nod
Yeah,
towards that. But yeah, you just see that I think he's so desperate to win, he won't care about morality by the end of it. And that just
yeah,
goes against everything Steve Rogers stood for.
yeah. I just want to know how long he's gonna, steal that mantle as Captain America before they finally just say, yep, okay, you're not. When will he become who he's supposed to be?
100%, 100%. So then after that, he moved on to Zemo. He broke out of prison quite easily. It's obviously wasn't a top level security prison he was in. They just caused a fight, and that was it. He was allowed to leave somehow.
Yeah, but then let's face it, the guy is a genius anyway. For him to,
Yeah,
mastermind the things that he actually did, he literally tore the Avengers apart.
yeah.
And
And
he had no powers whatsoever. He literally tore them apart just
he's
by
manipulation.
yeah, logical
Just,
manipulation. He knew
just
exactly what to do, what buttons to push. He's a very, very smart guy. But what was actually surprising, but then I mean, it's not really surprising now if you look at the bigger picture in terms of him, is that he's a wealthy, wealthy man.
well, do you know what? He's a baron. Now you can see
Yeah,
he's a baron.
yeah. What's funny though is his butler, he's Alfred, if I should call him that. He looks about 200 years old. I don't know how he can still be moving around like that, but
You
that
reckon
was
he's a similar age to Bucky?
yeah, he probably about that age. But
He's-
that's what I like about good villains, because in often they like to portray villains like villains just hate everyone. They don't care about no one. They don't care about their own people. If one of their men died, they don't care, type of thing. He genuinely cares for that guy. You
yeah,
could see
he
it.
does. Yeah,
So that is, to me, is what makes it relatable, because you can see that he may seem like a bad guy to us, but to the people around him, he's very, very important,
yeah,
because they
and
know the reasons behind why he was doing what he done. And let's face it, he done what he done because he
his
was a man
family.
who lost his family.
Yeah, his family died in
Without,
Sokovia.
yeah, he didn't do anything. It was done by the Avengers, and his family literally just went on as if it was, or should I say, society just went on as if his family didn't exist. It's
Yeah,
kind of like, like the common man against the government, and the government will do whatever, or big corporation will do whatever, and literally they have no concerns about the effect of what they're doing, how it affects the small man or the little man or whatever. They just move on as if, oh well, it's happened, move on from it, and that's that. And then when the little man actually retaliates, you get labeled as the terrorist. They don't try to see where you're coming from and why you're reacting the way you are. They look at it like, well,
yeah,
you're attacking democracy, you're doing this, you're doing that, but you just wiped out the guy's entire family, and not
yeah,
even so much as an apology. Nothing was actually done, but you're concerned about the buildings, or everything else that was damaged, they actually get more respect than the actual people's lives or whatever.
So
So I think,
it's fair to say the Avengers have left a huge trail of destruction
yeah,
during their
unintentional,
adventures.
but
Yeah,
yes,
I mean, even bringing everyone back from the blip, it's caused a huge amount of upheaval, and yeah, it's perfectly understandable as to why some people would be wholeheartedly against superheroes in this situation.
true, yeah. Because I think, like for instance, the Avengers are seen as just coming out just for the bigger picture.
Yeah,
They're not there for the day-to-day things that's actually going wrong. So therefore, they're not really in touch with the common person to know this is what's going on in your community. This is what's happening. This person died from the battle that you guys was having with so and so. So they're not really in touch with the public like that. The public saying, "Oh yes, the Avengers will save us from monsters," but the Avengers ain't there to pick up the pieces for the day-to-day
yeah,
persons or whatever because they're too busy focusing on themselves, which you can understand because they're doing a hell of a lot, and they too have their own losses that they have to deal with as well. But
exactly, exactly.
it's a tricky one. It's not an easy.
Exactly, and then so we see Zemo grab his purple mask, which is famous from the comics, which I liked as well. Actually, his dad in the comics, he had an even better mask, but it was really baggy around his face, and he had like this metal chain around it. It was proper. It was proper bringing for sure.
Yeah, it was shocking because he was actually quite badass once he put the mask on.
Yeah.
Literally, he just started he just started beating people up like serious, like ass whooping or whatever, which was amazing. And going back to what I was speaking about last week, where I said I was getting a bit worried about how they were trying to like water down Bucky,
Okay,
where
we'll
he
get to
could.
that. We'll
No,
get
but
to
I
that.
was
We'll
just
get.
going to say the fact
Yeah.
that he was back on top form again this
Yeah.
week, where he wasn't messing about. So that was good to see that you're making him how he should be
Yeah. So we'll
because
get. Yeah.
he's no joke.
Yeah. So we'll get to that. So essentially, they go to Madripoor because there might be that's where the clues are regarding where the super soldier serum might have originated from. The power broker seems to have some link to Madripoor. Now, as an X-Men fan, I was excited to see they were going Madripoor because Madripoor in the comics is famous as a key component of the Wolverine stories. It's a place where Wolverine in the 80s and the 90s, most of his solo stories originated around Madripoor. Madripoor is kind of like a den of iniquity, like, and he called himself Patch when he walked around Madripoor, like his disguise. The funny thing is, everybody knew he was Wolverine, but they just played along and called him Patch anyway, which was kind of like a funny in joke in the comics. But I think it's exciting personally that something which is so prominent from the X-Men universe has now been featured in this series.
Yeah, I think it is definitely interesting, and let's hope, you know, all these little Easter eggs, like with, for instance, the X-Men's Quicksilver in one division. Let's just hope all of these are leading up to, the rebranding and the rebirth correctly of the X-Men.
Yeah, the correct introduction of the X-Men. I didn't notice this myself, but I was reading an article today, and apparently when Zemo, Bucky, and Falcon are walking through Madripoor, they walk past a bar called the Princess Bar. In the comics, the Princess Bar is the place where Wolverine would always go for a drink in the
Oh wow.
comics. So that was a nice. So I've got to rewatch it to see if that bit's correct, but that's a nice little touch. If that's true, again, it's probably nothing. It's probably just something there to get a pop out of people like me. But I appreciate it regardless.
Yeah, but then it might not be because let's face it, Marvel is no fool. When it comes to dropping little Easter egg, I don't think they do things without just cause. Like, I think usually
Everything
when they're
means
doing,
something.
yeah, there is something coming along, even if we don't see it just yet, it will come along. Like, you go back to the movies, the Iron Mans, the Captain Americas, the Thor, all those movies, even the what's it called, Guardians of the Galaxy. They all had little ending scenes, extra scenes that was all building up to something, and it all connected. Like, it would have been real interesting if on the release for the entire Avengers movies. Well, you couldn't do it for the Avengers. You'd have to do it. It would be impossible to do. But I was just thinking they could add all those little scenes together to show how important it was and what it built up to.
Yeah,
Because that was actually real interesting. Like, that's one of the things you look forward to when it finished to see, what end scene are we going to see for what movie or what's what.
yeah, 100%. So they go into the bar and they're looking for someone called Selby, who they eventually get a meeting with, and they're all in their disguise. They're all in their their disguises. And obviously, before they see Selby, obviously they work out who ZEMO is, but that gives Winter Soldier a chance to go all Winter Soldier on everybody, which, as you said, was nice. It's nice to see he still got it. But eventually, they see Selby. Yeah, but Sam Wilson's phone rings and his cover is blown. But Selby gets sniped, and it looks like the sniper was Sharon Carter.
You think so?
I think, who else could that sniper have been? Because I'm guessing it was Sharon Carter. I'm not 100% sure. Who do you think killed Selby?
Well, I don't think it's her. Maybe someone who's with her, or maybe she's working with
you can see she's...
But
yeah, I mean...
she was busy out there, like literally fighting for her life. And, which was great that she held her own. But you could see, which I love the fact that they made it that she had a hard time with those guys. Because for the simple fact that, well, yeah, we did in a sense. But
are we talking about the same scene? In the nightclub?
Oh, no, I've jumped ahead. My bad. I've jumped ahead. I was on to something else. I was on to the next scenes.
Selby gets sniped in the nightclub, remember?
Yeah.
Okay. And then then it all kicks off again. But what's really important from there is that the news of Selby being murdered spreads like wildfire across Madripoor really quickly. Yeah. So there's links and there's people in the know in Madripoor. The power broker seems to have a lot of influence. Who the power broker is, I think it's going to be really interesting. I think that's going to be quite a big reveal. But so they go back to Sharon Carter's house in Madripoor.
Could I guess who I'm thinking it might be?
Who do you think the power broker is?
I think it's S.H.I.E.L.D.
What part of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Someone in S.H.I.E.L.D. who's been playing both sides.
So on the internet, a lot of people were theorizing that Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross is actually the power broker.
Ah.
Which I think's it's got some legs to it, which will be interesting as well, because if it is Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, that would place him in the same series as Baron Zemo. And in the comics, Baron Zemo starts a superhero group in commas called the Thunderbolts, which is basically a bunch of bad guys pretending to be good guys. But then as the story progresses, some of them quite like being good guys, but some of them kind of quite like the charade of being good guys.
But not really, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So there's some potential there. I think, this can go plenty of places. So they go back to Sharon Carter's house. We find out she's some kind of an art dealer now. But it feels like black market art dealer. But she was abandoned by the Avengers. It seems like nobody cared about her. Like after she helped Captain America.
Well, to be fair, it's not like they had a break after that, because after that it was literally the whole, like it was Infinity Wars and End Games. So literally it wasn't like there was a peaceful time in between where they could probably get her pardoned. But then again, they should have done that. Maybe I'm just making an excuse for them, but the minute they pardoned Falcon and Bucky, they should have pardoned her as well.
Yeah.
So they should have just pardoned everyone who was deemed traitorous, as pardon them, to let them just be okay. Yeah, they were for a better cause.
Yeah, the fact they never though shows he is so why she is so bitter.
Well, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, who wouldn't be bitter if you literally did what you thought was right, to help someone who was innocent, to basically stop a big global war, because it would have been it was going to be a big, huge war, literally, not just between superheroes, but between countries, because guaranteed Wakanda wanted vengeance for, against an American citizen who they deemed as a murderer for killing the king. So, that would have had, catastrophic effects on a global scale.
Yeah.
So on that aspect, she basically helped prevented a global crisis in terms of a possible war, because let's face it, up until that moment, America, they would have thought, they were the big superpower, and, thinking Wakanda is just some little poor African country, not knowing that, Wakanda could literally wipe America off the map.
Yeah.
Should they feel like it, if you vex them.
That's the arrogance of the Western world all over, Davie, without getting too political. But yeah,
no, but I'm just saying, it's just the fact that, she did that. So, she should have got pardoned. She should have got a hefty reward, financial reward from saving them, because not only did she prevented that, but she's now gotten helped Wakanda to say, we're going to open up our country to these people now, and our technology and XYZ. So now they're actually going to gain financially from what she's done, based on the relationship being repaired with Wakanda. So all of them should have actually gotten some kind of reward. A pardon is the least, because a pardon, let's face it, that's nothing. That's just someone who happened to be in power saying, okay, he's no longer a traitor, he's free, and that's it. No, show me the money, Tom Cruise. Show me the money.
Okay, for the record, I'm not Tom Cruise, I'm the Duke of Homerton.
Yeah, I'm just saying, Tom Cruise voice, show me the money.
And we've already discussed you're not going to get paid this week.
Yeah, that's true. I'm sure they would have taken my money too, eh? Donate my money to her. Give my money to her. My week's pay to her.
So they go to a nightclub afterwards, and ZEMO's doing his little moves, which was great. Seeing ZEMO getting down, just very German. It's a bit like when I've seen Jurgen Klopp dancing. It's very similar.
Yeah. I hope, sorry to cut you, many people, I hope he gets featured in it a lot more now.
He's a great character, isn't he? He's great. ZEMO.
Yeah, he's an amazing. That's what I'm saying. He's a great character. I mean, to go from how he was in Civil War to now this, like, you're seeing his characters getting evolved. So it was great that he didn't die in Civil War, and it's now coming back to show that it was actually a good thing that he wasn't killed. He's still there, whatever, because he could have got killed. Had Black Panther not stopped him, he was going to kill himself, because he literally felt like he had nothing to live for. But now, you never know. I think maybe now he might be on a road to redemption, where he might actually be doing a lot of things. So let's see.
Yeah. So, and then whilst that's happening, Sharon's actually found out where the super soldier serum is being made in Madripoor, and it makes you wonder, God, like, what contacts does Sharon Carter have? She she's proper involved in the underworld in Madripoor. So I think there's a lot more to come from Sharon in regards to what she's been up to. Because I don't think she's been dusted. I think she must have been there throughout, because she's built up quite a big network, it seems.
Yeah, she looks like she's doing better now than she was when she was actually working for Shield. Because
100%.
being an art dealer on the black market, and she's actually got not knockoffs but the real authentic expensive art pieces, then she's getting a nice paycheck. And like you said, she didn't look like she was dusted, so it means that she's been making that money for that last 5 years at least. So she's looking like she's done well. She's done very well for herself. The only thing, I think she probably just wants the freedom to be able to come back home.
Exactly. What's money without freedom when it comes down to it?
Yeah, really and truly, she's all right. She's living a good life, well comfortable.
I don't think she's living a good life, because it's not the life she wants. She's made the best of a bad situation, but I don't think it's a good life for her, because she wants to go home and see her dad. That's all she wants to do.
Yeah, I think, or just on that, but I think if you look at probably what her lifestyle is like in terms of wealth, everything else, I think she's doing very well, much better than what she would have been doing.
From a monetary point of view, but I think spiritually she probably feels quite lacking.
Well, yeah, 100%, because obviously, remember, she's from a background where her aunt, was an amazing woman, with Captain America and all of that. So she comes from a very disciplined, background where she believes in justice and, doing the right thing. Yeah. So I think she probably feels like she's, like betraying all of her morals and all of, her aunt's work and dedication and memory. And that's why I think, spiritually, it's not the place that she wants to be. But at the end of the day, when you get backed into a corner and you've got nothing else to do, and there's no other option for you, because let's face it, she did the right thing. And by doing the right thing, she literally, it's just like Isaiah, she literally got exiled.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a parallel there. Definitely. So then they go to this ship container yard, and they run into Nagel, a scientist who had been making the super soldier serum. I think they hint towards quite strongly that they'd gotten the samples they needed from Isaiah Bradley, sorry, to be able to duplicate the super soldier serum. But those vials were stolen by the Flag Smashers. And then because ZEMO hates superheroes, ZEMO kills him.
Yeah, I think ZEMO killed him also because he not only did he hate superhero, but this guy was just so arrogant with it, where despite being outnumbered and literally they could have done anything to him, he was still so smug inside there. Like he literally felt like, oh, well, you can't do nothing, you're bound by rules, so you have to do this. And he literally was just so arrogant with it. So yeah, he needed that bullet. I was so glad when he got it.
There you go. This is Davie condones murder for arrogance. There you go. So
yeah, well, he was an evil guy and he was arrogant. So yeah, he deserved what he actually got. He needed that.
Heard it first. Arrogant, he should be killed. That's what.
Yeah,
this isn't the opinion.
Yes, if you're an evil bad guy making super serum, super soldier serums out there and being smug with it, then you deserve that.
This isn't the opinion of the.
Especially when getting a second chance, because let's face it, he disappeared.
This isn't the opinion of the Veil Men. Let me just say, it's purely Davian's opinion.
Yeah, this is my Scorsese moment.
Yeah, Penny says hi.
Hello, Penny. Welcome.
So we see that. We see Nagel die. We see Sharon Carter kicking ass of all the bounty hunters, which have come for ZEMO, Falcon, and Bucky, which was amazing. She just the levels of violence Sharon was using during those fight scenes. I mean, that was she's upped it a level in terms of how dangerous she's willing to be.
Yeah, but I think also at the same time she's not as what she could be. Because I think because she's probably not been training as much as she was, it made it
I will.
realistic that she actually got touched a few times. Whereas I think if she was still like back in the Shield day where she was actually constantly doing battle training, she would have like taken them out a lot easier.
Maybe. I mean, yeah, I mean, she was outnumbered as well, and I do think she's done incredibly well to win that despite being outnumbered. The scene where she picks up the metal pole and just chucks it into that guy's shoulder. I mean, that was pretty grim for him. For him, that must have been pretty grim. And then you've got this great scene at the end where Falcon says, you know, I'll get you pardoned, whatever. And they'll jump into one of Zemo's flash cars, and Bucky's just not going to move his seat forward for Sam.
Yeah, that was funny. But also, one thing I didn't like about that was Sam. Sam was still, despite everything, what he's seen with Isaiah and with everything else, he's still playing the good soldier, the good lapdog soldier, because rather than, like she says, rather than just get her pardoned for the simple fact that she should be pardoned, he basically was like, you know, like, you have to do this, and yeah, I'll get you pardoned. So he literally still wanted her to like scratch his back before he'll actually do the right thing, which shows that he's still a soldier at heart. Like literally, he's still like, you know, America. Literally, he's willing to play politics when it suit him. So I didn't quite like that. That was, you know, a bit of a
this is what I'm liking though. We're seeing that despite these guys being superheroes, none of they're all flawed characters in their own way as well, and we're already seeing that now. We're already seeing, these are layered human beings. You know, we're far beyond now your typical superhero tropes, which is such a positive thing. One thing we didn't touch upon was we had another conversation about the Shield and Sam giving it up, and Bucky almost saying, he's more than willing to rip that shield from John Walker and take up the mantle himself. And Sam Wilson's like, I wish I just destroyed the Captain America legacy instead of giving it up to go to somebody else. But let me get your opinion on this. So I was having a chat with my friends last night about the show, this episode. I think Sam Wilson gave up the shield almost because as a black man, he can't 100% kind of get in line with what that shield means, because he's still part of a people in America who are underrepresented and targeted. And then to suddenly put on the Captain America uniform and say, and present to the rest of the world that America's this great, amazing place, is kind of hypocritical and contradictory. And I wonder if he feels a bit of that, like, why am I going to take on this mantle, which actually exposes the hypocrisy of America to a certain degree?
Yeah, but then he can't say that, because if he was to think that, then he's already wrong, because technically with his behavior, with, oh my God, I can't remember her name. What's her name? Agent Carter.
Yep, Sharon. Yep.
Yeah, Sharon. Shows that he's just the same as them, because he was willing to actually exploit her situation for the greater good of his means to an end in order for him to do the right thing, which is to get her pardoned, or put in a word to get her pardoned, when in reality he should still do that. So it would be the same as if someone saying, well, Isaiah should still come and fight for America despite how they treat him. And then they will they will clear his record. 30 years he did in prison, they'll take that off his record now if he comes and do this. Rather than do the right thing, they still would want you to do something else in order to still get what is actually owed to you.
I'd argue they're not the same thing. I'd argue what Falcon was doing there was just trying to get this specific mission. He just wanted to find a way to just get onto the next stage in regards to this mission. In terms of,
but at the same time,
in terms of the Captain America uniform, it represents something far more grander. and far more overarching of what America means. And I don't think Sam Wilson position he can hand on heart take on that uniform and fully believe in what it means.
Yeah, well, yeah, I get that at the same time, but I think, well, just, you're saying that that was just to get that mission done, but I think in those situations, it always starts that way. When someone come into when, someone invade a country, they're going under the pretense of one thing or saying, this is why we're going in, and then it leads to something else, and then it leads to something else, and then before you know it, what they started out to go in there to do is not exactly where they are now. So it's the same thing with that, where, he's saying, well, it's just for this mission to stop them because they're making this and they're making that. Now, what if when he gets that off the road, he gets that off the market, the super soldier serum, there's a bigger plot and a bigger conspiracy, and he needs her to do something else. Will he keep his word and get her the pardon based on her completing what was actually agreed, which was the super soldier serum? Or will he say, oh, well, we need to do this, and once we do this, then I'll do it? That's where that line is kind of blurred with that. And I think in terms of him, why he's afraid to be Captain America, I look at it like this. I think for him, like you said, which touches on that, being a black man, I think for him, Captain America can be Steve Rogers and then be Captain America. And it's not so bad. But I think for him as a black man, he looked at it like he would always have to be Captain America 24/7. No matter what the situation is, he always has to be Captain America.
Because he'll be held to a different standard.
Yes. So there's more pressure on him. So it means he's going to have to always be saying the right thing. So even if something is, literally possibly racial, he can't say it that way. He has to say something like what Captain America would say, even when it's right in front of him and it's very obvious. He has to downplay what that situation is and look at it like it's something what it's not, instead of being himself and being honest and saying, no, actually, that is that, this is that, this is that, rather than play the corporate game of like, oh no, let's get to the bottom of this. Maybe it's not this, maybe it's not that. So he always has to, he literally be living a lie 24/7.
So basically, you wholeheartedly agree with my point.
I have to go around in circles to get back there. It's a merry-go-round.
I've got to say, one thing you and Otis have in common is if I asked you to point to your ear, you would, instead of going like this, I'm pretty sure both of you would like put your arm around here and
I'd go like that.
Like that,
the ear is that way rather than just go like that.
Yeah. It's fine. It's fine. So they both, then we go back to the flag smashers. So we find out that Carly Montague, someone very close to her, is dying of tuberculosis, which is kind of one of the things that spurred her on to start the flag smashers, it seems. In the first scene with
tuberculosis, or was it leukemia?
Oh, that's a good point. We'll just say some kind of
illness, terminal illness.
Yeah, some kind of terminal illness had afflicted her. So in the first scene with her, we see quite a nice flag smasher, Carly Montague, where she's talking about, oh, we've got to get these vaccines to the children, and and I'm sitting there, I'm going, I'm on Carly's side, we have to get these vaccines to the children. Carly is 100% right, forget what the government's saying and doing. You've got to take control sometimes and just help people yourself. And then in the second scene, we see what the flag smashers are really about, where they rob that GRC building of the medicine and vaccines. And then what happens? They've robbed it. They can just walk away. But Carly Montague blows up the building, potentially killing tens of innocent people, maybe even hundreds.
Well, they weren't innocent people. They were bad guys.
No, they weren't. They weren't bad guys, Davian. They were people who were working for the government. The same way how I've worked for government places. If somebody walked into my government building because the place where I worked had wronged them and blown them up, do I deserve to die for that?
Well, you did dock my pay, so I'm just gonna say on that, based on that premise, you wronged me, you wronged them. I'll shed a tear, but I'm like, well,
Did
if
I
you
say
had
I
kept my
docked?
pay,
Did
if
I
you had
say I
kept my,
docked?
if you didn't dock my pay, maybe, I would have been like, it's wrong. No,
Did I
but jokes
say?
aside,
Did
I
I say I
think,
docked? Did I say? It's gonna be 4 weeks pay in a minute.
Jesus, see, there you go. Well, in that case, they're wrong. But no, I
Yeah,
think, no, looking at it right, I can see why they would have to do certain things in the sense that they
but
have to show.
that was an unnecessary act of terrorism.
Well, how many unnecessary acts of terrorism does the government inflict on people on a daily basis?
Hundreds, I'd probably say on a political level, governments are probably more responsible for needless deaths than terrorist groups, violent
Right.
needless deaths. But two wrongs don't
Exactly.
make a right.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think what she's doing, which I think you have to do, especially when you're going up against the government, you're not going up against, a regular, regular Joe. You're going up against the government. So I think what she has to do, she has to demonstrate that she's willing to fight fire with fire. She's willing to kill,
Yeah,
just like
then
how they're willing to kill her people. So that way, they don't think that there's nothing that she won't do. Because if they think you won't kill people or whatever, what will they do if they know that? They will actually know, okay, we can go and attack that building because people's in there, that they won't kill the people. Once they see that you're on the same level as them, where you don't care much about life, human life, you're willing to sacrifice whoever you need to sacrifice to get your point across, then I think they will really view them as a serious threat, and they won't do certain things because they
and
won't.
you're suddenly the bad guy as well, and that's the truth
Yeah.
of it.
Well, you're already been classed as the bad guy even before you're doing anything. The minute you go against the government, you are classed as the bad guy.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely. But in this
if they're going to do
circumstance,
it,
they've
then give them,
but
yeah, give them a reason.
from a moral point of view now, they're definitely the bad guy. There's no two ways about it. They've killed innocent people. They
Well,
haven't targeted a military like installation. They haven't targeted like the person in charge. They targeted people just working in a building that houses vaccines.
yeah, it's horrible, but at the same time, like I said, I think in order to get your point across, just like the government, you're going to have to play by their rules, which is no rules. You're willing to do whatever just to show them. It doesn't mean it's something you're going to do all the time, but you
No, it's
have
something.
to,
It's
even though,
something. It's something you should do. Never.
yeah, but then at the same time, Manipi, if someone knows you won't do certain things, yeah, and they're not playing by the same rules as you are, they're going to go after exactly what you won't do in order to get to you.
Okay, let me give you a history lesson. Now, okay, when India was fighting against the British Raj to try and get independence from the empire, there obviously were acts of violence which Indian freedom fighters did inflict upon the Raj. But what got the movement sympathy on a global level was fighting fighting the Raj in a totally non-violent way. So a part of the strategy was to get beaten up by the Raj and don't fight back, because if the world's media is watching that, the world media was reporting how brutal the Raj was against the Indians. They couldn't turn around and say they started the fight. The fact was that the Raj was exposed for how brutal it really was. So if as soon as you fight fire with fire, you're giving that institution all the permission it needs to come at you with even more violence. And
Yeah, but then,
ultimately, they're not going to win because they're a small organization. They're not going to beat a government with all the resources in a military fight.
no, but it's just like a game of chess or checkers. Sometimes it's not about winning, but it's about inflicting enough damage where what you've done will have a lasting effect, and it will raise questions about certain things that will demand change. Like, for instance, look at ZEMO. ZEMO didn't win, but he did enough damage where it literally caused a lasting effect on the Avengers, because let's face it, it literally broke up the Avengers.
I remember ZEMO killed King T'Chaka. You know, nothing that man did was good.
Well, yeah, he killed someone innocent. He lost his family that was innocent too. But no one was saying that the Avengers are terrorists.
Which was terrible too.
Yeah, but look at the difference. We knew about what he done to King T'Chaka, but no one knew what happened to his family until he actually said. His family was so insignificant in the grand scheme of things that they weren't even mentioned. You didn't even know about them. They were just like another set of boys.
Oh dear. He's frozen. Have I frozen or is Davie frozen? I don't think it's me. Let me just... Okay, I'm just going to carry on whilst Davie's frozen. So yeah, essentially we have a situation where Carly turns out she's a terrorist, and yeah, she's probably going to bring on additional wrath towards her from the government agencies who are after her. And then right at the end, we have a scene which made me pop. We had ZEMO, Falcon, and Winter Soldier in Riga, in Latvia. Winter Soldier breaks away from those two to do his own thing, and he starts picking up these little bits of tech. Starts picking them up, and I'm wondering, what's this? At first, I was like, I had no idea, and then something clocked, and he is confronted by AO from Wakanda. So it seems as though the Wakandans are going to want to know why they've freed Baron Zemo, the man responsible for King T'Chaka's death. So I think Bucky's going to have a lot of explaining to do in episode 4 to the Wakandans, and I personally wouldn't want to be on the wrong side of the Wakandans. Yeah, and then from there, yeah, the episode ended, but it was another good episode, I felt. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how the Wakandans now kind of play into this. It'll be interesting to see as well whether they address the death of T'Challa in this episode. I think a lot of this stuff was written before Chadwick Boseman died, and possibly recorded before Chadwick died. So potentially T'Challa's still alive at this point in the series. So I don't think that will be touched upon properly. I think Davian's back.
Yeah, I don't know. I just got disconnected. I think it's because I'm anti-government in that segment. You know, the internet just disappeared on me. Okay,
well, I was doing my best to hold it together whilst you were away.
Yeah, you did wonderful, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's 6 weeks' wages now, by the way.
Yeah, see, I knew it. It would cost me financially. Ain't typical. But yeah, no, going back to what I was saying is, like, you know, when things like that happen with, you know, people who's not deemed valuable to the government on the grand scheme of things, you often go unnoticed. So sometimes you have to, in order to get your point across, I'm not saying it's right, but sometimes, you know, you have to harden your heart and do certain things that you may not usually do, which is, you could tell that that wasn't something that was, you know, the flag snatchers would actually do. But
and again, for the purposes of this podcast, this isn't the view of the VMN. This is purely the view of Davie P.
Yeah.
Don't come after me. Um, but yeah, no, but even then, like, you do something like that and you lose all kind of moral high ground, and the people who were on your side will end up being against you as well.
Yeah, but then at the same time, Manipi, if you look at it, these are people who, in this situation, they've actually gone from where they wanted help and they tried to do it the right way, probably, where their voices are not being heard, to now they've just said, you know what, we've had enough. We don't know, no longer we want sympathy. We no longer want to sit and wait for you to take pity and actually do the right thing. Now we're going to take what is actually owed to us, what is actually the right thing.
But they had that. They had this. They had the vaccines. They had it. There was no reason to kill all those people. They'd won that battle. They would have been listened to regardless because they had the load. It was just an act of spite on Cardi's behalf, and you could see the shock in I've forgotten her fellow flag smasher's name, but
yeah,
the look of shock on his face as well. He didn't want anything to do with that. He just wanted to get that medicine to those kids. He does not want to be murdering people when he doesn't have to.
Yeah, I get it. Like I said, I mean, I completely see, I understand it, but I think what we sometimes fail to do in society when we see things happening to people, we fail to actually try and see from both perspectives, especially when something is not affecting us. We should actually, why? But often, which is the case, we don't actually look at something and we don't actually take on board what the effects of something is until it's personally affecting us or our situation. Then all of a sudden, that's when you actually see, like, oh wow, okay, now I see their point. Now this is what, I can see why they did this or why that's that. And it's wrong, because you shouldn't have to wait for you to be in that situation. It's like hunger, for instance. If you see a child that's hungry, you see someone that's hungry or someone that's homeless and cold who needs a jacket, you shouldn't have to wait till you don't have a jacket for you to understand, oh my God, it's cold. They need to have a jacket. You should be able to do that. And often that's what's not happening in these situations. So I'm pretty sure these are individuals who try to do everything the right way. But, as usual with government and corporation, there's always red flag after red flag that will prevent you from doing or getting what you actually need, because you don't qualify for this or you don't do that, you don't do this. And then you only got so much that you can do, so much tears you can cry, so much letters, so much people you can go to and plead your case, and you're still getting rejection after rejection, roadblock after roadblock, before you actually say, you know what, screw it, we need to do something. And if you notice, it's only when people, through violence in most cases, that people will finally want to actually have a discussion, want to have that conversation. You look at situations like what's happening in society now, like, when you hear people speak about like discrimination or this and that, a lot of people who doesn't actually experience that they can't see that. It's not until they actually see, riots happening before they actually want to actually sit back and say, okay, maybe we do need to have a conversation. They may not even still understand what you're going on about, but the fact that they're scared of you wreaking more havoc is enough for them to actually say, okay, let's have a conversation. And I think that's the same situation like this. Violence isn't the actual answer, but I think in her situation, she's already seen that words isn't enough. Trying to play the game their way, going through all the right channels has not happened. Because looking at her and looking how they're acting, those flag snatchers, they've probably tried to do everything the legal way that they should, gone through the proper channels, and they've just not been successful. And then what happens when people are desperate and they're backed in a corner and they've got no other option, or they feel there's no other option, they're just going to do whatever they feel.
I don't think that's relevant in this case, because they're already being violent. They've already committed acts of violence, but it's been more targeted. What she done there was purely out of spite. There was no political motivation behind it. That was purely something to make herself feel better. The mission is to help children. The mission is not to kill innocent people. And as soon as you do that, you've become that what you've most hated, and you've lost. You've lost the battle. You've lost the war because you've become what you hate.
Well,
and now people will just, yes, you have, because then people are just going to see you
really.
as a terrorist, Bucky, like everybody else.
But look at Bucky. Bucky has been a terrorist for the last, 50 years?
Bucky was brainwashed. But there's a difference again. You can't use that comparison with the flag smashers, because Bucky had been brainwashed.
See, you call it the flag. I was calling them the flag snatchers. Same thing, but
7 weeks pay now.
Yeah, literally, I should call people by the correct names. But I'm just saying is the fact that despite what Bucky has done, he's still at a point now where he's trying to be on the road for redemption. And I'm just saying, yeah, he wasn't aware of what he was doing. They're aware of their action, but at the same time, they feel like they're desperate, so they have to do what they have to do. Well, she's the leader, so even if they don't agree with her,
but in that moment, she wasn't desperate. She'd gotten what she wanted.
Yeah, but I think
it wasn't like they lost the fight and she was just walking away to give them a bloody nose. She could have just left with all of that vaccine or medicine, whatever it was, and that would have been it. They would have still had people come, but now people are going to be coming at them double hard.
Are they free?
They wouldn't have been free regardless. You can't compare the two because they wouldn't have been free regardless.
Well, then that's why you have to just wreak some havoc on them and let them know that we're about that. They're gonna get these hands.
Then they're bad. Then they're bad guys, aren't they? Because now they've fallen into that trap now. So they deserve no sympathy from me anymore.
Davie P's on your side, guys and girls.
Well,
whatever gender y'all want to be.
When Winter Soldier gives them these hands, I'll be cheering Winter Soldier on.
Well, he better worry about Captain Chin first. That's who he needs to deal with first and leave these people alone.
Well, I think Captain Chin's going to get his ass handed to him by somebody. So I think, John Walker. I'm not going to call him Captain Chin because I'm not going to body shame him. I'm not going to body shame him the way you have. I apologize, Wyatt Russell. But yeah, I think I don't think he's taken the super soldier serum yet. Your face is frozen for me. I'm just going to remove you and re-add you. 1 second. Okay, you're still frozen. But in the last stream, you were frozen. But when I played it back, it was fine. So hopefully that will happen.
Yeah,
again.
I'm moving. I can see you moving fine as well. So
okay, that's good. That's good. So yeah, I think someone's going to beat him to give him that kind of motivation to take that super soldier serum. It might be the flag smashers again. It might be Bucky, or it might be even ZEMO. I think one of those 3 entities or people are definitely going to hand John Walker a beating at some point.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame it won't be in public because he needs to get it whooped in front of good old America. It
might be that even. It might even be something like that, something that really motivates him to think, oh my God, I have to take this serum because I'm not going to be embarrassed the second time.
Well, everyone will still think that he's a B, regardless, because if you get your butt whooped and then your solution to evening the score is run and go get a weapon, because in theory, that's what the super soldier serum is. It's a weapon. It's something that will make you get an advantage. So, you go and take some drugs, some Percocet, you come back now or whatever, you got time, you got that energy right now. But it still doesn't change the fact that you got that butt whooped. Be like Bucky. You just owned that butt whooping. Look at him when he met up with Isaiah Bradley. And Isaiah reminded him, yeah, I whooped that butt and I took your arm. And what did Bucky say?
Bucky was humble. He was just like, yeah, you did.
Right. He didn't say nothing. Man on the day. Yeah. He didn't say. He just shut his mouth because he
exactly. He was humble. He was humble.
Yeah, he was humble. But Captain Chin is not the humble type. He's that type there that will get that butt whoop, and then he will come back and be like, yeah, you only beat me that day because it was raining and I slipped. Yeah, and the water got in my eye. So that's what happened. But now I'm ready because the sun is shining and there's no birds around. So yeah, now I can deal with you.
You only beat me because it was a Thursday, but now it's a Friday. So now I can beat you.
Literally. And he's the
Thursday's
type
not
that
my
his
day.
friend, yeah, his friend is going to have to still jump in when he's going to get that butt whooping, and he'll just about win just because his friend was about to assist him, and he'll take that victory like he actually defeated everyone by himself. Yeah, I defeated everyone. Where's Thanos? Come see me now, Thanos. I'm ready for you now. You're like, yeah, here we go. That's that drug there. That's that super soldier serum right there. That's the side effect. Delusions.
Sorry, it's going very dark in my room. I'm just going to adjust the lighting. That's better. I can see myself now. So everybody can see my greys. But yeah, I think that's going to happen. But then let's move on to the last bit of the episode.
Oh,
Wakanda,
God, yeah.
Davian. Wakanda turns up and they're going to be asking questions to Bucky.
He Bombay!
My apologies again to anyone who's listening on headphones.
Yeah, true. I apologize. Yeah, I know that's now 8 weeks pay that's getting docked, but it was worth it. It was worth it.
No, I won't dock you for that because that makes me laugh because you just say it so terribly.
It's something like that, not quite, but it's something like that.
You make her proud of yourself. I'm not gonna dock you pay. When I get you to shave your head and stuff like that, like live during the stream.
Yeah, I won't be making no bets like that, Devil. I'm scared to lose. I'm scared to lose. He's the Duke of Homerton. You can't.
Just so people are aware, we don't actually get paid, so it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, we don't.
But so how did you feel when you saw Ao from Wakanda turn up?
Well, come on, you're jumping ahead a little bit because when Bucky was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna go for a walk," I didn't know what was going on, and then you see him started going back, and you saw him pick up that little thing, and I was thinking, for a minute, I thought it was ZEMO that was actually leaving all those things behind, like he was up to something,
Yeah,
like setting them up. I actually thought it was him. And then when he goes back and he's like, "Oh, you can come out now." So again, I still was thinking it was them. And then when it just turned, when the cameras just turned around and you just saw Wakanda's finest standing right there.
Yeah. Ao, who's actually T'Challa's bodyguard in the Civil War movie.
Yeah, the main one. She's the first. She's the same. Oh my God, what's her name from?
So she's kind of like
from Walking
She's kind
Dead.
of like So she's kind of Okoye's second in command.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously Okoye. Again, we don't know whether they're going to address T'Challa's. Well, obviously Chadwick's passed away. God rest. But yeah, I don't know whether they're going to address T'Challa's death in the MCU, during this, or whether they're going to wait till Black Panther 2. I think that would be interesting to find out.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of this was written and filmed before Chadwick's death. So maybe at this point, T'Challa's still alive, possibly.
Yeah, because this would have been because he died last summer. So I'm pretty sure that all these was recorded before that. So they were just recorded it and was just waiting for the time to release them. So it will be really interesting to see. But again, that was just epic. Literally, that made me literally, I sat up on the bed. I was laying down, relaxed, or watching him, and I was like, "Oh my God!" I jumped up, "What the hell?" Because I did not expect that.
Yeah, and I think Bucky's going to have a lot to answer for because he's the White Wolf to the Wakandans, and the Wakandans done a lot for Bucky. In fact, I think Bucky even said the most at peace he's ever felt is when he was in Wakanda. So I think they're going to feel quite betrayed by Bucky.
Well, I think they will give him a chance to explain himself, and I think he will probably explain himself or whatever. and the reasons why, because you won't throw hands with them because they will put them mittens on him. So you know someone is about that life when they come by themselves. They just send one person to come out there to deal with that, which means that person can either talk to you verbally or they can have a discussion with you physically, but it's someone that's not going to lose.
Oh yeah,
Because
I
let's
mean,
face it, they are badasses, those Wakandan female warriors. They are serious badasses. Like, even going back like from the comics, I actually saw that in the comics that um what's her name? Black Widow got defeated in Wakanda
yeah, I mean,
by one of the warriors.
yeah, I've forgotten what they're what they're called, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there's more Wakandans just like lurking in the background. Because remember, like they're very good at just infiltrating society, aren't they? Just in the background, and you don't quite know that they're there. It might have been
Yeah, I
that
would be.
AO just
Yeah, yeah.
might have been that AO just
Yeah, I believe that as well too. I think they've been there monitoring him. I think they've already had, they've been monitoring him in prison just to make sure that he's always there. And if he was to have ever left, they would basically punish him, like, because let's say they could kill him if they wanted to, but I think they don't want to kill him. They wanted to do exactly what, T'Challa's wanted, which was make him suffer literally in prison for his whole life rather than just die quickly. You wanted him to suffer for life. But
yeah, no,
I mean,
100%. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if like there's a lot of Wakandans there. But I think AO was the one who confronted Bucky because she's quite high up the food chain, in
yeah,
Wakanda. So instead of having one of the minions confront him, it's better to have one of the people who have quite a bit of clout confront him. But yeah, so that was Falcon and Winter Soldier. Davie, what are you expecting for episode 4?
um, at this point, the only thing that I would have expected, but obviously can't happen now, God rest his soul, would have been bloody Black Panther to have turned up himself in person to be like, what the hell is he doing out, type of thing, considering it's his father that, was killed
Yeah.
by this guy. So that would have been the only thing which we know can't happen now because, obviously he was sick during the filming of this and, shortly passed away before it all came out. So that wouldn't have happened. But, that would have been the icing on the cake. But I don't know. I think it's weird, but I don't think they're going to do it yet. But I was thinking, maybe they're going to start giving us like a history, like a backstory for the flag. What are they? The flag grabbers.
Smashers, Davian. The terrorist
Smashers.
organization known as the Flag Smashers.
Smashers, not grabbers, not snatchers. Yes, maybe a backstory on them as to what happened, their history. But
Why Cardi I think they've touched upon that already, haven't they? Like,
no, I mean like where you actually get to see them, to see what's happened, maybe over like an episode or two, showing you what's gone on, so you can get a real in-depth look of what their situation is and why what's happened and how they even became. Because I mean, it would be a lot of stuff to cram in one episode to show their history and then showing them getting the super soldier serum. It'll probably be 2 episodes, but maybe it would be too early to do it now. Maybe they're going to probably wait. I mean, how long do we think this is going to go on for? Is it like 10 episodes? Like
it's 6
episodes?
So it's 6 episodes.
Oh, so it's only going to be 6 episodes for season
So
1.
We've officially hit the halfway point.
Okay, then, well, since we've hit the halfway point, it could be, next week, maybe about the backstory of the flag smashers.
I'm going to dock you a day's pay every time you get it wrong.
Yeah, I remember. I got tongue-tied there. Smashers. Yeah, I think it may just be that, literally just a little history on the flag smashers, and then, it's going to start getting interesting. Maybe we might see a point where
Sorry, so thank you, Davie. Davie, the Dora Milaje are what the warriors in Wakanda are called.
Yeah, maybe we'll get to see Isaiah Bradley again.
Maybe, I'm hoping so, because obviously he plays a huge part in this.
Yeah, as the actual Captain America.
What do you think he'll like suit up and turn up and just kick some ass? That I would be all for. I'd be all for that. Before we go, the last thing we done, someone mentioned Elevator's not worthy. Left a comment and said that there's going to be a cameo in episode 5. Researched a bit more. Yep, like it's going to happen. There's going to be a big cameo in episode 5, potentially a debut of somebody new. Have you got any ideas as to who that could be?
I don't have a clue.
Which is why it's so cool. Do you think he could be like old man Steve Rogers just turns up with his ZEMO frame?
Yeah. In his old Captain America suit, knees shaking. I don't know. It will be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, for me, if I'm going to put money on anybody, I mean, I'm like you. I'm lost as who this huge cameo could be. I'm going to go for. Actually, I really don't know. Honestly, I'm not even gonna guess who it could be.
Unless it's T'Challa, like I said, maybe this was filmed before he was really, really bad, where he did an episode.
Yeah, I doubt it. I can't see that being the case. If it is him,
maybe it's resurrected Killmonger.
Yeah, I think we're just entering the realms now of proper woo.
Well, technically, in the comics, Killmonger does get resurrected.
Yeah, it's no guarantee though it'll happen in this universe.
Or maybe what's his name? From the oh my god, what's his name from also Wakanda? The leader for the
M'Baku.
M'Baku.
Dowdy, have you got any ideas as to who it could be? Okay, I'm going to go with. No, I was going to say the Red Skull, but I'm pretty sure the actor who plays the Red Skull isn't up for it.
But why would Red Skull come in there? He's got his ass beat from back in the day. He don't want to come and get a future ass whooping again now, so he might as well just stay home.
Because we don't know what happened to the Red Skull, like on that planet.
He got beat up though. That we did know that he did get beat up by Captain America.
When?
In the movie.
Yeah, in Captain America's movie, but more recently, he's in Endgame and Infinity War.
Yeah, but but ain't he a ghost? What is he though?
Well, exactly. We don't know what he is, and now that that stone potentially isn't on that planet anymore. Is there going to be a situation where actually now he's been freed and he's allowed to return to Earth?
How the hell would he get to Earth from there?
Right.
That was nowhere. That
infinite cosmic power can do a lot.
Well, I doubt that he'll be able to call a cosmic Uber. Literally on his phone.
You wouldn't need a cosmic Uber. You just got to use an infinity gem. That's all you got to do to get there.
Calling an Uber, 20 minutes.
There's a lot of powerful beings in the universe who and again, we don't know the level of the Red Skull's powers either since he's been on that planet. He might have some kind of cosmic power himself now. So simply because I need to say somebody, I'm going to say Red Skull. Dowdy is saying Old Man Cap, so he thinks it's going to be Steve Rogers with his ZEMO frame.
Well, you did say that too, Manny P.
Yep. Well, me and Daddy are best friends, so that's probably,
Or maybe
backing each other up.
Thor, yeah. Or Loki.
Yeah.
Loki
would be good. It could be a nice little setup into the next series with Loki.
Loki. I'm going with Loki.
Potentially. And Dowdy also says that maybe Marvel are trolling us again.
Yeah, I'm sticking with Loki.
Cool. Loki is right. Davian, Liverpool versus Arsenal is about to begin. So I'm going to knock it on the head.
Yeah, if you got okay, I can't say that on here. I'll message you. Yes, I would like to partake in watching that game from right here in Jamaica.
Indeed. Yeah, so I'm going to knock it on the head. We are back tomorrow. We're not going to be talking about geeky stuff. We're going to be talking about the tunes that got us through the 90s with Otis, hopefully, providing everyone's internet can work. Davian, are you still there? Oh, cool.
Yes, I am still there.
Oh, cool.
Is it frozen again?
No, you just went a bit funny for a second, but it's fine.
Okay,
it's fine.
Yeah, no, I'm still here. But yeah, looking forward to that. And I'm going to be doing a few reaction videos myself to music videos, from based on the comments from, the LP.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to be doing some more of that because it seems that our fans seem to have a liking to that video that I did and the artist. So I'm going to do a few more and I'll send that across and we can get those up and ready. But once again, thank you all for tuning in. It's been a blast. It's what time is it for you now, Manny P?
It's 8 o'clock.
It's 8 o'clock. Yes, it's just 2 o'clock in the afternoon for me. So I'm going to have some lockdown lunch as I am on lockdown and no leaving the house until Tuesday, which I won't be doing, or else I won't be able to do any more podcasts because I'll be in jail. So I'll be doing that.
Cool. So, don't end up in jail. Anyway, bye everybody.
Bye-bye.